Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Bianca Collins. I'm the curator of public programs for the Fowler Museum at UCLA. Thank you for joining us tonight for this very special concert, whether you're in our audience on Zoom, tuning in through UCLA radio, or listening to us via the live feed projection in Deneb Quad. It's a pleasure to co-present tonight's Fowler Out Loud concert with the UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music. Fowler Out Loud is an evening concert series that invites UCLA students from various disciplines to perform at the museum. The series is taking a special break from hiatus to share a major UCLA ensemble performance brought to you in the comfort of your home. I hope that you have a dance floor cleared for the UCLA's Afro Latin Jazz Orchestra Spring Concert, led by renowned jazz maestro Arturo O'Farrill. Arturo O'Farrill, pianist, composer, and educator, was born in Mexico and grew up in New York City. He is currently professor of global jazz studies and associate dean for equity, diversity, and inclusion at the UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music. O'Farrill has received commissions from Jazz at Lincoln Center, the Apollo Theater, the Bronx Museum of Arts, the New York State Council on the Arts, and has been honored as a Steinway artist for many years. In 2007, he founded the Afro-Latin Jazz Alliance as a not-for-profit organization dedicated to the performance, education, and preservation of Afro-Latin music. In 2020, O'Farrill's weekly concerts with the Afro-Latin Jazz Orchestra, dubbed Virtual Birdland, topped the list of 10 best quarantine concerts in the New York Times. Tonight, you will see musicians who took a page from Virtual Birdland and gathered virtually to perform compositions by Miguel Blanco, Adam O'Farrill, Guillermo Klein, Jason Lindner, and music from HBO Max's Fandango at the Wall. Special guests tonight include DJ Logic, spoken word artist Christopher Chilo Cajigas, pianist and composer Andrew Andron, and others. All right, let's get this show on the road. First, a special welcome from Liam Wallace.
Buenas noches, señoras y señores. Déjame contarte sobre mi gran amor, algo que corre profundo de mi alma. Sí, el mambo, pero algo más profundo, una pasión por la música tan feroz como el fuego. Una pasión que comparten todos los músicos esta noche. Una pasión que esperamos que usted sentirá, aunque estemos separados. ¡Ay, qué lindo! Amigos, baila el mambo, baila el bolero, baila la música del amor con la UCLA Afro Latin Jazz Orchestra.
I'm not sure how he does it. I've been trying all evening to get that whoosh sound when I turn around dramatically, like Liam does. Whoosh, doesn't work for me. Liam, I don't know how you do that. That's kind of incredible. But I will say that I love beginning the evening with the acknowledgement of the indigenous peoples of the Los Angeles Basin, because it reminds me that what you just witnessed was a migrant force, and music is a migratory force. The fact that you're watching European instruments filtered through African rhythms and filtering up from the Americas, and who knows how far back that goes, how far back the roots of this music go to the Middle East, the India. We are migrants, all of us, and it's important. This evening is about migrants and about the migratory force of art and culture and humanity. And this evening is about acknowledging that even if whatever you think America is, to be American is to acknowledge that we are from other places and to love each other through the differences that we create for ourselves. So I love that. Thank you so much, Bianca Collins, and the Fowler Out Loud series for inviting the UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music Afro Latin Jazz Orchestra to be able to celebrate the migrant force of music with you. It's a beautiful and honorable thing to do. We just heard Alma Vacía, composed by Miguel Blanco of Madrid, and it's a classic big band arrangement, big fat sound of a New York style salsa tinged mambo dance. So I'm going to echo the words of Bianca, and I'm going to ask you to make sure you're wearing your favorite mambo shoes and be ready to use them, because they just have a life of their own. You might find your feet just starting up, okay? So we heard Alma Vacía, composed and arranged by Miguel Blanco, featuring incredible soloists, Peter Ogban on the tenor sax, Brendan Kersey Wilson on the trombone, and a wonderful solo by John Wake on the trumpet. We're going to follow that up now with a piece called Amor Sin Fronteras.
Hola, me gustaría dedicar esta canción a mi chocho y mi papi Lalo. Gracias por venir a este país y por inspirarme a seguir mis sueños. I'd like to dedicate this performance to my grandma, my grandpa. Thank you for coming to this country and risking your lives out of love, and for inspiring me to follow my dreams. Te quiero mucho.
En busca de un sueño, dejé mi pueblito. Yo era muy joven, quería triunfar. Todos me decían, allá en otro lado, la cosa es más fácil, lo puedes lograr. Me fui al norte, conocí a su gente. En esta nueva tierra formé yo mi hogar. Nacieron mis hijos, amé a dos banderas y seguí luchando para progresar. Sin miedos ni odios, somos gente buena, no me querías mal. Dios nos hizo iguales y nos dio derechos que nadie en la tierra nos puede
Amor sin fronteras, love without borders, beautifully sung by Emily Silva. 13 years ago, a brilliant man by the name of Jorge Francisco Castillo, a retired librarian from San Diego, gathered people at the border wall between San Diego and Tijuana and performed son jarocho music across the mesh, literally across the wire. And in so doing, showed us an incredible lesson. He used the elements of separation, the mesh, the chicken wire, the patrol dogs, the border guards. He used the very elements to bring people together and to show us community and love and celebration of humanity. And we caught that on film. That song comes from a film that we made called Fandango at the Wall. It's available on HBO Max, and it's an amazing thing to watch people celebrate unity using the tools of division. That was composed by Alberto Kreimerman and arranged by Greg August. And it featured the great Emily Silva, Andrew Andron, our guest pianist, our wonderful guest pianist, also featured Ani Sinanyan performing the violin solo, and also performing Jocelyn Wang, Elisa Kodos on the violins, and Michelle Mao on the cello. We're now going to go to a piece that I wrote called Blood in the Water. Blood in the Water, arranged by Adam O'Farrill. And I wrote that piece for a marvelous Cuban modern dance company called Malpaso. And their choreographer and artistic director, Osnel Delgado, created a ballet called Dreaming in Lions, which was based on the incredible Ernest Hemingway novel, The Old Man and the Sea, which is about alienation and transformation. And it was such a privilege to be able to write that piece, to write that music for Malpaso. It featured Brendan Curson Wilson on the trombone and Zane St. Andre Jackson on the tenor saxophone. We're now going to turn to a piece of music, a Yucatan folk song called El Makesh. I'm going to share a quick story with you. That was El Makesh, based on a Yucatan folk song, arranged by Adam O'Farrill, which didn't make it into the movie, but we got to play it on their record, Fandango at the Wall, 2018 recording by Resilience Records, originally featuring Regina Carter and Antonio Sanchez. But I'll tell you a quick story. We're rehearsing this piece in a courtyard in Tijuana, and we finished and we were getting into our buses to go back to our hotel, and I happened to notice down the street was one of the famous dancing horses of Tijuana. And so I figured, why not? So I asked the owner, the trainer, if he would bring the horse over to the band and if we could jam with the horse. This is actually a true story. I have video of it. And so out came the guitars, the saxophones, the trumpets, the violins, and we started jamming with a horse. And remember, you heard it here first, interspecies jam session. That's the power of music. It featured the great Miles Chen on the trombone, Sam Kredich on the trumpet, and Peter Agban on the alto saxophone. We're going to now go to a piece that I composed and arranged called Bebo Chico Chucho Turo. Bebo Chico Chucho Turo co-composed with the grandmaster himself, Chucho Valdez. And I'll never forget spending some time with him in his home and sitting at two grand pianos and coming up with this piece. And of course, we wanted to do a piece together to celebrate Bebo Valdez and Chico O'Farrill, consequently the name, Bebo Chico Chucho Turo, and asked him what he wanted to write. And it surprised me when he said, I want to write a Dominican merengue. And so that's what came out. Bebo Chico Chucho Turo from Familia on Motema Records 2017, featuring Chucho Valdez, Jesse Valdez, Leonis Valdez, Zach O'Farrill, Adam O'Farrill, and in this case, featuring a marvelous performance by Andrew Andron, our guest pianist, Kenny Sias on the alto saxophone, and Glynis McNamara on the baritone saxophone. We're going to play a piece for you now called El Minotauro. El Minotauro, or in English, El Minotauro. Incredible composition by one of the composers who I think is the very finest in our field of Afro Latin jazz, or whatever you want to call it. His name is Guillermo Klein. He's a brilliant Argentinian composer. And that was from his record, Guillermo Klein and Big Van, Candid Records, 1997. If you can believe how forward sounding that music is, and it was written in 1997, featuring a brilliant solo by Colin McClure, and we call him Pocket, but his name is Will Pike on the bass. Colin McClure on the trumpet and Will Pike on the bass. We're going to go now to a beautiful composition arranged by a master arranger called Somos Novios.
Los dos sentimos mucho amor profundo y con eso ya ganamos lo más grande de este mundo. Nos amamos, nos besamos como novios, nos deseamos. Hasta veces sin motivos y sin razones nos enojamos. Somos novios, mantenemos un cariño limpio y puro. Como todos procuramos el momento más oscuro para hablarnos, para darnos el más dulce de los besos, recordar de qué color son los cerezos, sin hacer más comentarios, somos novios.
Somos Novios, beautifully sung by Lauren Brewster. And we're dedicating that performance to the memory of Armando Manzanero, the great Mexican composer, considered really to be one of Latin America's most important composers, who left us December 28th on 2020. And we're also dedicating that to Maestro Chico O'Farrill, who did that gorgeous arrangement, who was considered one of the most important composers in jazz and Afro-Cuban jazz. Not only did it feature Lauren Brewster, it also featured Andrew Andron on the piano. We all went to school. All of us went to school this past year, and especially college professors, because we learned the greatest thing of all. And we learned it the hard way, that the students are filled with resilience and hope and great joy and power. And even though they don't realize it at times, they're giving us an education, and they're teaching us how to be and how to teach and how to move. And so we can't thank the UCLA Afro Latin Jazz Orchestra enough. On trumpets, Katie Villaseñor, Katie Osborne, John Wake, Colin McClure, Samuel Kredich, Ethan Brandt. Our trombones were Miles Chen and Brendan Kersey Wilson. On the saxophones, Kenneth Sias, Peter Agban, Zane St. Andre Jackson, Glynis McNamara, and Larry Alvarez. Our flutes were Haley Benedict, Steve Murillo, and Peter Agban. Our drums and percussion were Oliver Cooper, Cy Thompson, and Liam Wallace, who you might have noticed also playing trombone back there. Our bass players, Will Pocket, Pike, and Isabel Dobrev. Our vocals, Emily Silva and Lauren Brewster. The guitar was great, Amir Zowandai. Our guest artists included the wonderful, my dear friend Andrew Andron on the piano, Ani Sinanyan on the violin, Jocelyn Wang on the violin, Alisa Kodos on the violin, and Michelle Mao on the cello. We're going to take a minute and just give some special thanks. We want to thank Professor Steve Loza, the chairman of the Global Jazz Studies Department, our inaugural dean, Eileen Strempel, Louis F. Hanau, director of music technology and production at the UCLA Herb Alpert School of Music, and his assistant director, Jose Carrillo. We have to thank Bianca Collins, the curator of public programs at the Fowler Museum. We just found our way into this incredible experience with Bianca. And we want to also thank Jean McHugh, the director of technology at the Fowler Museum. We also want to, it's hard to explain this program, so I won't get into technical detail, but much of what we did tonight would be impossible without Matt Garrison and the Shapeshifter Lab crew who developed the TuneBend platform that we use to rehearse and to learn this music. I can't even begin to tell you what incredible effort, Herculean work was done by these young heroes. Larry Alvarez, Lauren Siciliano, Glynis McNamara, and by these older heroes, Brian Davis and Peter Carl. We also want to have special thanks to the Afro Latin Jazz Alliance and our music administrator, Gina Soto. Closing thoughts. I spoke earlier about music being a migrant force, and I'd like to wrap it all up in a neat little package, but I'm afraid I can't do that. Seems to me like we're going through birthing pains in this nation. We're going through birthing pains. Something wonderful can either come out of all of this or something just as scary. And I implore all of us to look at each other through new eyes, to see one another in each other, no matter where you come from. We're all immigrants. I've already established that. And this song that we're about to perform for you is about the Puerto Rican immigrants that came to the United States in the 50s and 60s and changed the course of human history. But it applies to all of us. It applies to all of us who are immigrants, whether we're immigrants from Norwegian beginnings, Irish beginnings, Italian beginnings, or whatever. We come here and our job is to make life better. And the only way we make it better is by recognizing that in our differences, in our different beginnings, in our different ethnicities, is the greatness of America. And so I implore all of us to take the time to think about this and think about how in our diversity, we are whole. That is what America is all about. And I want to talk about this next piece. It's a piece of by spoken word poet Christopher Chilo Cajigas, and I want to dedicate it to a laboratory in New York City called the Neo-Rican Poets Cafe, which began some of the first experiments in poetry slam, spoken word and rap and hip hop. And Miguel Algarin, the founder of the Neo-Rican Poets Cafe, who also left us this year. We dedicate this song, this performance to them. And we want to introduce our special guest, spoken word artist, Christopher Chilo Cajigas, and he will be joined by the great DJ Logic. Thank you for coming out tonight.
They came from the land of Borinquen, where caciques once ruled, the coquilles cried, and the parrots flew, speaking Taino in canoes, eating guava and yucca under the sunshine. From the lands that conquistadors conquered, carving new cultures, carrying Africans that brought bomba, where saints doubled as Orisha, hundreds of years of assimilated ethnic mixing in their bloodstreams, sweat, tears, and pain, toiling in the sugarcane, they came. Jibaros working coffee plantations, where cuatro, conga, cowbell, and clave poured out into the night. From the forts of El Moro to the rainforests of El Juque, they came, screaming in ladders, grabbing guidos and playing plainer rhythms into tomorrow. They came, some earlier than others. Names like Lola, Betances, Hostos, and Schomburg. Humans with their hearts full of independence and education. They came amidst the U.S. invasions. When our island was ceded from Spain, they came. When the Jones Act made them citizens so that they could be drafted in their wars, they fought. In every major war since for this country, even though they couldn't and still can't vote for the president. Puerto Ricans in New York named Julia Jesus, a maestro named Albisu, helping to write the Irish Constitution. They waited. Naturalized and stigmatized with their West Side stories. Wanting to live in America, looking for milk and honey, settling for pigeon soup and shining shoes, putting the machete down and strapping on their boots for operations, leaving their island while manufacturers moved in for tax exemptions. Lab rats and cancer experiments. They came to the factories of the metropolis, to the farm fields of this country, doing the jobs that nobody else wanted, dishwashing and dancing with discrimination, breaking down language barriers, sofrito in their souls, praising Dio for another day. They came to the streets of Brooklyn and the Bronx, East Harlem and the Lower East Side. They strived, they are still here, we are here, in a form of superheroes like Mr. October and Clemente, winning World Series rings and helping to educate America, leaving imprints with their music. Raphaels and Ruths, Hectors, Titos and Willies, Jose's, Ray's, Andes and Ismael's, Cepedas and Gran Combos, banging on goatskin, keeping alive tradition from the Congo. Young lords with programs and platforms, poets using words to spark movements, Papalettos, Petey's and Pedros, Miguel, Sandra, Bimbos and Tacos, leaving legacies with letters that would last forever. And we were there where hip-hop began, Boricuas breaking in the Bronx and Park Jams, where Herc and Nevada had the speakers loud. Who you think was there out in the crowd? Ruby D and Disco Wiz, Charlie Chasers in the Whipple Whips, devastated to over the field is for, Crazy Legs rocking every Tony Touch and more. Brady K, CKA, freestyle to the illest rap fighters of the day. They came. They came. They came. They came from the island of flags and the windows in the streets. They reside in Division and Chi-Town, New York City, Massachusetts, Florida, Jersey to Philly, Hawaii to Hartford. Yeah, we all over. Leave us in a Bombasso in Minnesota. We came back there to step by. We know how to party, let it all go wherever. We are the rainbow people, no lies, skin darker than the night, our eyes bluer than the sky. Say things like we do, people, they hate it. Can't just on the corner by the Gucci Rito. My holidays pouring out Coquito. Some say we bitch first, some say we Lobito. Playing dominoes and eating pasteles. Winning the Olympic gold medals and tennis. Speaking out against the Navy bombers. How they turn our ancestors ransom toxic. Super fun sight in the street sample watching. The rep politicians, cultivate the pockets. Large part of my business still in poverty. No tricks to the theory and those big policies. We are here. We go into space. Become Supreme Court justices and climb statues of liberty. We are big pun platinum raps and Basquiat paintings on your walls. Rita Moreno winning an Emmy, Grammy, Oscar and a Tony. Shaking maracas, giving out guacatas and cocotazos and our guayaberas. We are Berea in an NBA championship and Victor Cruz doing our salsa in a Super Bowl. We are Sixto, Kodo, Trinidad, and Camacho. Much more than tourism, targeted advertisement, and exploitation from pharmaceutical companies. Rushing all 5 centuries of colonization. Working how we work, singing our songs, and no plebiscite can ever right these wrongs, but we are here. And if you still hate, then stop it, stupid. There's no way you can deny our contributions. We are life for the sun and passion unlimited. Don't ever let them tell you otherwise. There's not enough words in the world. There's not enough words in the world to express what a love I have for the Indian. Boricuas presente, pa'lante siempre. We came, we are here, we ain't going nowhere.
Everyone at home will join me in a big round of applause. God, that was so amazing. Thank you so much to the UCLA Afro Latin Jazz Orchestra, DJ Logic, Christopher Chilo Cajigas, Andrew Andron, and of course, Arturo O'Farrill for this truly delightful night of music. What a treat to have the sensation of live music brought to us in such an exciting way. Thank you to everyone involved with putting this virtual performance together, especially, of course, the incredibly talented musicians of the orchestra. Thank you to everyone who came tonight. We hope you'll join us for our next program. Details can be found on the closing slide. Have a great weekend, everyone. Bye.